and reborn again. No truer words, I think. I'm going to say again what a joy it is to be with you all here today. I've been so excited to join everyone here at Southwest UU ever since I first spoke with your wonderful search team, and I got to hear all about all the reasons that they love this community. If you've served on that search team, could you please raise your hand so that we can thank you for your hard work ensuring a successful transition? Thank you for bringing us together. I'm thrilled to be here and so eager to get to know each of you in this community. You heard Adrian share a little bit about me. I'll share a little bit more. I come to you, the daughter of a knitter and a woodworker. A knitter and a woodworker. Yes, Adrian shared that both of my parents were ministers, but their hands are and were the hands of a knitter and a woodworker. Those same hands that shook the hands of parishioners every Sunday morning, those same hands that lovingly touched the arm of someone in distress, those same hands that lit altar candles, that thoughtfully typed a sermon each week, those same hands that embraced me, held me, raised me. They were the hands of a knitter and a woodworker. You see, my mom's hands have delicate, nimble fingers, almost like they were made for the rhythmic moving of needles back and forth and through and around. Her soft, open palms, like they were designed for admiring some good quality yarn, the texture, the feel, the color. My dad's hands were hard, calloused hands, trained in the art of steadily sliding a block of wood down a table saw. They were a comfortingly firm grasp, formed for digging a chisel into a small log, and sometimes undeterred by when they nicked their knuckles at the chisel's release. My parents have both always had the hands of makers, of creators, of builders. These same soft artisan hands that still stroke my cheek and my hair as my mom reminds me that I'm her baby no matter what age I am. The same rough, industrious hands that I got to hold in the hospital as my dad passed away more than a year ago. If I'm honest, I've always been envious of my parents' hands. So far, I've never seemed to have the aptitude for making things with my own hands. I just don't seem to have that handcraft DNA. At different points in my life, I've asked each of my parents to pass their skills on to me, to teach me their art, and they replied enthusiastically. But it hasn't seemed to stick yet. I have about 20 rows of a red scarf that I've been knitting for more than 10 years. I'm going to try again someday. And perhaps I will find myself able to transform a simple block of wood into something special. Perhaps I will become the most voracious knitter you've ever met. Perhaps I will be surprised to learn what these hands, the hands of the daughter of a knitter and a woodworker, have yet to do. I wonder, whose hands are a part of your story? I wonder, what do our hands have yet to create? I invite you, if you're able, to hold your hands out, palms up in front of you. If that's not accessible for you, you're welcome to just focus on an area of your body that you use most for doing or creating. Holding out our hands with our palms up in this way is one way that people have prayed for centuries. These hands that have been shaped and formed by time, by our own stories, if we hold them out with an open, upward-facing palm, it indicates in our body a willingness to receive, an open prayer, an openness toward what is to come. As we hold out our hands in this posture of openness, take some time to study them. Notice the lines carved into your skin. Notice the shapes that they draw. Perhaps you use one hand to feel the other. Trace the creases, the fingers, the palm. What does the skin feel like to you? Are there any calluses or bumps or scars? What stories do your hands tell? Gathered here with our open, upward-facing palms, I invite us to receive the words of UU minister, Reverend Teresa Soto, in their poem, The Magic of an Empty Palm. The magic of your palm is that though empty, it can be filled. But look at it. One of the planes of creation with which your body is equipped. Lines sweeping out to fingers and the marvels of opposable thumbs. That single leap toward grasping. And do not fear if you do not have hands. We know that you too create. And together we take up what it means to hold a value and to make it come alive. More than only thought and feeling, rather being and doing and becoming. A sculpted expression, colorful. An embodiment of why we are, what we do, and what we will yet become. Thank you for opening your palms with me. Reverend Soto's beautiful poem has me thinking about all that hands can teach us about beginnings. All it can teach us about beginnings on this, the Sunday that you, Southwest UU, and I begin our journey together. Their poem helps me understand what I can learn about this sacred threshold that we occupy together right now. Reverend Soto reminds us that hands hold both the past and the future at once. Hands, one of the planes of creation. A sculpted expression, colorful, an embodiment of why we are, what we do, and what we will yet become. Similarly, every beginning that we encounter in our lives, it's both a culmination of what's come before and also holds the potential for what can be. No beginning exists in isolation. As we shake hands with each other this morning, as Denny's hands lit our chalice, as my hands anchor on this pulpit, as hands cut cake downstairs, these hands are both shaped by and shaping this church's beautiful community and its meaningful story. It's a story sculpted by hands that wrote and signed a church charter nearly 35 years ago. Hands that pushed shovels into the earth to break ground for this special and accessible building. Hands that prepared coffee outside early in the morning at beloved church campouts. Hands that have lovingly arranged flowers on our altar week after week. Hands that have played instruments to fill this space with music. Hands that have held each other in moments of sorrow. Hands that have carried the church's banner at pride marches. Hands that wrote down this congregation's covenant. Hands that signed that covenant. It's hanging beautifully in my office. Hands that have clicked join meeting on Zoom when meeting in person has not been safe or possible. All these hands, a part of why we are, a part of what we do, a part of what we have yet to become. Those hands among us and those hands not yet among us that will continue to grasp the handles of our front doors for meetings, for programs, for worship services. Those hands among us, those hands not yet among us that will work the technology that allows this community to remain accessible and multi-platform. Those hands among us and not yet among us that will reach for each other in times of need. Those hands among us and not yet among us that will light candles of vigil, that will lift signs of protest, that will carry out the work required to live into the eighth principle, dismantling white supremacy culture. Those hands among us and not yet among us that will continue to find new and meaningful ways to hold our Unitarian Universalist values and to make them come alive. Those hands among us and not yet among us that will build, that will do, that will create. Those hands among us and not among us that will, not yet among us, that will discover what is possible. What is possible? And it's all a part of why we are, what we do, and what we will yet become. Every beginning can launch something new. But every beginning is also a continuation of a story that is already in motion. Every beginning sits where what has been intersects with what is yet to come. Every beginning sits where what made this moment possible meets everything that is possible in the moments to come. Beginnings are thresholds that call us into reverence and wonder in that way. Reverence and wonder at what has gone before us, what we are now, and what lies ahead. An opportunity to lift up what got us here, to honor what is here, and to look forward to shaping what can be. That's our call right now in this season of beginnings. Let's do it together. Let us honor the beauty that is in this precious community. Let us shape what it can be, and let's do it together. Because what a joy it is to occupy this threshold together.
Amen.
With our sculpted hands, with our palms open, ready to create. May it be so, and amen.